right. I am here, yes. Glad to see everyone. People are still piling in. I see Angry Green Boss is here, Holy Ninja Joe, and a couple others. So, let's go ahead and get started. I'm actually still waiting for Preston. He should be here soon. I've already sent him the link. And what we are going to do tonight is something special. And that is we are going to talk comic books. Specifically, a comic book by my friend Preston, plus another one that he's got on the horizon, and then one that the both of us are going to be working on as well. So, quite a bit of stuff to talk about, and hopefully we'll have some time for some Q&A with you guys as well. So, let me just do something real quick. I need to adjust a window real fast. Because what I am doing... Nope, never mind. I'll explain that later. My friend is here. Preston!
Almost. Hold on 1 second. I gotta put my headphones in. Totally forgot about the headphones. Alright. So what's up, dude?
Not too much, man. We are already live.
Sweet. So no cursing?
Oh, you can curse as much as you want on my channel. I don't give a shit. All right, folks. Let's go ahead and get to it. So, yes, this is the good Preston. For those of you who are wondering, we are going to be talking quite a bit about a lot of different projects tonight, but we're going to prioritize Rockabilly Roadtrip. So let me pull this up on my computer so that people can actually see it. And because what I want people to see is something that had to take a ton of effort, because you guys did a live action trailer for this.
We did, because we're stupid.
I don't know, man.
We go pretty retarded with stuff, dude.
Well, yeah, we're going to talk about the Devil Driver too.
Yeah.
I had to have Devil Driver as the intro music before we even got started, so let's go ahead and show these guys the live action trailer for this, because this is pretty awesome. I'm sorry. I think that's brilliant, man. I seriously do.
No, it was awesome. We loved doing it. You know, it was great. It was a ton of fun. And like I've been on movie sets before where I was like an extra and stuff like that, like on like that movie Supercon. Like I'm embedded in that movie. You know? But you wouldn't know it because I'm in the background the whole time, like painting. But it's completely different when you're working on your own set. You know?
Yeah.
And it was crazy. Plus, it was a total indie thing, but we were using some of like the cameras we were using were it was a Red Dragon camera.
Yeah.
And it was like $50,000 just for the camera, not including the attachments. So all in all, the cameramen were using like $100,000 cameras to go ahead and shoot. That's why the production is so high quality. We had a professional sound guy on site. We had a drone in the air,
Damn.
and we had absolutely no permits whatsoever. The car was completely illegal. There was no brake tags or license plates or anything on it. So we had lookouts from one end of the shoot to the other, like looking out for cops and stuff like that. We had pedestrians stopping. You know, some of them were challenging us to a race. You know? It was craziness, dude. But it was great. And we actually got the whole production lasted 3 days, which was insane, you know, and insanely quick. And also the actress who played the lead in that, she's later on she went on to play on the Purge TV series.
Really?
She was yeah. So we got her before then, and all the interviews that she was doing, they brought up like, what is this thing where you're dressed like Mrs. Frankenstein? So we got a little bit of free publicity off of that. So it was pretty
There you
good.
go, man.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get folks into this because people mostly know your name around my parts because you're working with me on 3 Nights 4 Days, and we'll talk about that later. But let's specifically talk about Rockabilly Roadtrip here. So kind of give people the elevator pitch on this book.
So Rockabilly Roadtrip is the story of Nicky the Pipe. Nicky's he's a he's a savant when it comes to building things. Like he can build anything. And he's such a savant, like he's actually socially retarded, you know. So he doesn't have any friends. He has the hottest car in the world, like the most demonic car ever that he built, and that actually has a life of its own in the book. Like it breaks at the most unopportune times, but it's actually in just the right place where it breaks at. You know what I'm saying? So and it leads them to these crazy ass adventures where they. You know, where when they're in a state like they get tangled up with this evil, you know, menace or whatever. So like the first issue, they actually go into they're in Texas and they're passing through Texas and they break down and all of a sudden they're involved with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, basically. You know, the second issue they go into Louisiana, they break down and they're tangled up with like this voodoo queen and a horde of zombies, and on and on and on. And these were the old issues back in 2006.
Yeah.
Now in 2006, it wasn't just a comic; it was also a comic music review magazine. So we were spotlighting bands and stuff like that. And we also had a website where you could go to. The website doesn't exist anymore. Where you can also download music they approved. You know, they actually put the music forward so that they can get their stuff out there. It was a lot of fun, but we eventually phased out that part of the magazine and just left it as a comic series. And now we're re-releasing. Well, we tied all those past issues up into a trade paperback. Now, out of all the 6 issues that we produced back then, the 6th issue can only be found within the trade paperback. We never made a floppy out of it.
Nice.
Which sucks because the cover for that issue was going to be an Akira cover, where it was Nicky walking towards the Devil Driver, like the Akira movie poster.
Yeah.
You remember that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a homage to that, and we never got to produce it. But yeah. So the trade that makes the trade collectible. You know, so it's not just a copy of old books. It's also a copy of old books with an extra feature in it, like the last issue of that series. Now the new series. Which was involved in a bunch of controversy in 2018, covers a storyline that deals with women's menopause.
Oh no!
Yeah, but it has something like back in the old days, like people didn't know no better, so they didn't know what menopause was, I guess, so they came up with this crazy ass disease name for it, and they would actually, I think they actually put women, like, people down.
Jesus.
Because they thought they didn't want it to spread, they thought they had a name for it. It was Micritis. And so we turned that into like this big government conspiracy in a book, and just so that people know too that the book is completed. This is an issue of it right here. And actually we produced 6 issues it is. The guy who paid to go ahead and buy the cover, we sold the cover to him for, enough money to go ahead and hire colors.
Yeah.
Because we wanted this to be in full color.
Of course.
So the book is, his name's Scott Murphy, the guy who contributed to it. So the book is completed, and it's ready to go to press to go ahead and go for the cover that we have, going for it. So you see it's full color, it's very high quality. But it's a 22-page book. But in every perk, you get the 155-page trade. Now, the lowest perk we have, is we'll cover the perks in a minute. I mean,
yeah,
we'll go through that in a second. But anyway, that's pretty much the story, the breakdown of Rockabilly Roadtrip. And his passenger dummy, she came to life mysteriously. You can find out within the pages of the trade. Like that's all part of it.
Yeah. I think that like this right here kind of gives that whole vibe that you're talking about with the disease. Is this somebody with a live, love, laugh that wants to just kill people? I love it.
Yeah, she's infected. But if you read the dialogue boxes, like it's that much funnier. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I just love this. Soccer mom looking going, I'll execute every last motherfucking one of you. This looks hilarious, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So
is that the kind of vibe you're going for? Is like a horror comedy sort of thing?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. I think we succeeded. Like I don't write this book. Like I do have a little bit of input on the subplot, but on a plot. But I'm not the writer. My writing partner, my partner on the book, Jesse Wablowski, he writes the book. I'm the artist, and I'm also the character creator. Like I come up with all the character design stuff like that. He's really good at plotting this stuff out and going ahead and writing it to where it's comedic, but it's also he's like he should have wrote like Army of Darkness
nice.
or the Book of the Dead or something like that, because I'm telling you, like he could do dialogue for Bruce Campbell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's kind of what the character, like looking through these of what you had shown me before we even started working together of what Nicky the Pipe is kind of like, is sort of that Bruce Campbell sort of, Ash Williams, Bubba Hotep kind of character, where he's just totally ridiculous in a horrifying scenario. So yeah, I dig it, to say the least. One thing that I do want you, before we start going through the tiers, you need to explain the car to everybody. We've talked about the Devil Driver, but these guys need to know exactly, like, and I'll show them the car again real quick.
Hey, check the private chat real quick.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm just wondering.
We are live. So what I'm doing, just so you know, because this is probably confusing, is because there's other features that I like that StreamYards does not show. What I do is I loop it through Streamlabs.
Oh, okay, all right.
So what they're seeing is an image capture of one of my monitors, and then on the other monitor I've got all the other stuff that we're showing. So,
okay.
Yep.
All right, sweet.
So yes, everybody can see us. Don't worry. They've been pretty psyched about what they're seeing. But yes, they want to know you actually built this car. This car is real.
So are we on YouTube right now? Or
yes, we are.
Huh.
Yeah,
that's weird.
We're on my other channel. We're on my live streaming channel.
Okay. What channel is that? I want to.
It's Micah and The Hatman, and I'll shoot you the link real quick. But it's also the same one.
Because
That
I was
put on
wondering, I was
Twitter.
like, holy shit, dude. Got it. Here we are. Yeah, there we are. All right, because I was worried. I was like, I think something's wrong here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm cheap. I don't want to pay for like the $20 stream yards when I only ever use it when I've got other people around. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I totally get it. Yeah. But yeah, so the Devil Driver. If I posted a build video that we did, and it's not. We never did it to the tune of Rockabilly. We did it to the tune of what was it? It was oh dude, Godsmack. So it was so the build video, it's me and we have a silent partner involved in Road Trip. We cut him a piece of the copyright because he's a custom car guy and he actually built the Devil Driver. I helped with the sculpting of the face. I was over actually there like bending the rebar, you know, measuring everything out, making sure we had pictures of the car on a board, and we, you know, planned the whole thing out, took measurements and everything like that to make it look exactly like the car from the book. You know, we ordered special mirrors, everything for it, you know. Yeah, so we so our silent partner he's not really a comic book guy. He's a car guy. And so I knew he was the perfect guy to go ahead and do this because that he doesn't quit once he gets involved in something. So because whenever you want to develop a property and it's completely original, now completely original means that it's going to be a hard sell because if you can't relate it to something, people aren't going to want to take a chance on it.
Very true.
Yeah. So we you have to get people involved that don't take no for an answer. And once they get knocked down, they get up and they dust themselves off and they get right back to work. And that's why Road Trip has survived all these years from 2006 to now. And it's only went up in content. It hasn't gone down, and it's crossed over into different mediums. So we built that car, and when we were finished, you know, we built that motherfucker in record time too, maybe 6 months, you know, and yeah, when we were finished, like people were so impressed. We had people stopping, like they'd see the car from the highway. Like we had people going over like, God, dude, that looks like a car that eats other cars. You know?
Exactly.
And it's a beast too. Like that thing will kill you. Like it's got a 454 on top of that frame. Ooh. And if you don't know what a 454 is, like it's like the power of a race car on top of a go-kart. And that on top of that, it's got a blower, you know, and that just increases the power exponentially, you know. So when we did the peel outs and all that kind of stuff, we actually we had a major accident on set where the car spun out and actually slung itself into the ditch, you know.
Shit.
Well, into the swamp.
Oh no.
Yeah, and the guy was, you know, the stunt driver, he decided to floor it as soon as it went in the swamp. So we had like 12 feet of water going up in the air from those tires. It was crazy.
Oh man.
You know? But it was cool. I mean, the thing about 1921 T-Bucket is that Model T anyway, is that there's no computer in that car. Mm-hmm. So you ain't got to worry about, you know, replacing the hard drive or anything like that. Like it's nothing like a modern car. These things were one step above a go-kart, you know.
Yeah.
It's being repaired now. Like we're getting it fixed and getting it back on the road. We want to have it in time for CG Con.
Yes, I was going to say, I was freaking out in Mandy's chat yesterday because like you need to bring that thing there.
Yeah. No, we are. And the thing is like I know there's a big thing about not wanting to like cross over into movies and television, you know, as far as like comics should be the goal and not a stepping stone. And that's true with Road Trip too. Like our goal with this new series is to keep it relevant. We want to keep the comic book going as much as possible. Let me tell you something, like Hollywood's a bitch. Because if they do get a hold of the product, we're very aware that they're going to change it and, you know, manipulate it to their will, and it's not even going to. It may not even resemble the road trip that we had envisioned. So, I'll what we our goal is to keep the comic going, because we figure if it does get picked up or anything like that, it's only going to increase sales.
Yeah.
Even if it's bad, it's going to increase sales. So that's our goal with the new series. In fact, we got half of the book. I got half of the book sketched out for the next issue, and that's going to be Bootlegger's Breakdown,
Nice.
where Nikki gets involved with some moonshine bootleggers. He makes a bet with the guy, like his devil driver can deliver like so many barrels of moonshine within a certain amount of time. But what he doesn't know is that all the locations that he has to go throughout the city, it forms a pentagram over the city, and this hellish kaiju comes up from.
Oh, hell yes.
And it's the devil driver versus this kaiju.
I love it already, man.
Yeah, dude.
Sold.
Sick, dude. Yeah.
Oh man, that is awesome. Because yeah, what I was thinking is like what we ought to do. Because by that time, you and I'll have had 3 nights out and printed already, and then some, and then anything else that you and I plan on working together on, and all this other stuff. I'm like, why don't we just put our booths together and then have the devil driver behind us?
Yeah, I know, right? Absolutely, I have no problem with that. But yeah, as far as 3 nights, I'm working on a cover right now because I figured that's the centerpiece. We need to get that done first.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the cover first, and then we'll move on to doing page after page after page. But the cover's definitely the hardest part to get done with.
Yep.
And yeah.
And we'll talk more about that for the audience. We're not going to give them everything right now, because.
But if you need examples of monsters that'll show up in 3 nights, I do have pages I can show from Doc Salem.
Oh yeah.
Of the quality of monsters you're going to get within
Absolutely.
3 nights.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be talking Doc Salem too. Real quick, I want to go over these tiers for everybody because everybody's been seeing all this, but I want them to be able to actually buy. So let's go ahead and go with your featured perk. You've got $30, the double deal.
So the double deal. So the double deal is basically you get the 155-page trade paperback, and you also get the brand new Rockabilly Roadtrip #1, and it's in full color for 2020. And and it's both of them come signed and ready to go, and it's $30. You can't beat that price. You can't. Like the literature devil said, it's almost 200 pages of story.
Yeah.
For $30. You know what I'm saying? Or content for $30.
Malin even got on you about the same stuff he got on me about for Englewood. He's like, you could have charged more.
Well, we could have, but the deal is that the trade's in black and white, and I feel like charging more for a black and white trade. And I get what he's saying. Like, that's a lot of work within that trade. You know what I'm saying?
I have no doubt.
But, it is what it is. I mean,
how are you sending these out, by the way? Are you using Gemini mailers?
I don't know if I'm going to use Gemini mailers. Like, Geminis, I mean, they're good, but if I do use any type of mailer, I'm probably going to download a template and just cut it myself.
There you go.
And, I'm save money anywhere I can.
So you're a DIY guy, so I shouldn't be surprised. So, but yeah, that's the double deal, guys. So it's basically physical everything, because you do have some digital perks on this.
I do. I'm not a big digital fan because I don't believe in collecting digital. It's probably sabotaging my digital perk, but there's no collector's value to digital.
Yes,
but if it's somebody out of country and they don't have a ton of money, this is probably the best way they can go if they want to read the book. Because, I mean, I know there's a controversy as far as, well, it makes it easier to pirate. Well, if somebody wants to pirate your book, they're going to pirate your book. You can't stop them.
Yeah.
They got scanners now that'll do it, and it's so easy,
Yeah.
But
the scanning groups that pirated comics, like, that started, like, in the Quesada era are still around. Like, that should say something.
Oh, absolutely. But anyway, like this digital tier, it's basically everything that's involved in a double deal. It's digital.
There you go. And then I think this is the one that I got was the real deal, which was it's the original. It's the first issue, the colored one,
Yeah.
completely physical, and then the digital is the trade paperback, right?
Yeah, if you just want to jump on to the new series, which I completely understand that, because, some people don't want to get involved with the old indie versions that we put out, you know, because some of it is a little raw. Like my style wasn't like you get to see the style, my style develop along the way.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, yeah, so you get the digital to go ahead and get caught up, and then you get the full color version to go ahead and collect, put away, and like the 22 pager will come signed too. So I'll personalize that for you.
There you go,
Um,
guys. And then there's a couple extra ones here that we have that give some extras. So what's this blast from the past?
so blast from the past, we came across some a stockpile of the first issue, and it's indie goodness where we actually did do band reviews on this side right here. We advertised it. We had the Creep Show in the first issue. Um, the We don't have many of them, and the print run was on that original series was very low because back then a lot of people don't know this, but back in 2006, the print industry wasn't as friendly to indie comics as it is now. Like the minimum order that you could get was 500 issues. And that's 500 issues where you didn't know if it was going to sell or not. And Kickstarter wasn't really a big thing back then. So distribution was a problem.
Yeah.
You had to advertise on MySpace and crap like that. And it just wasn't a good fit. But, for us, we want to get the stories out and the books out and stuff like that. So we're willing to go ahead and pay that. And that's one of the reasons why we only got 6 issues done, because we had to kind of work around what we could afford and what time we could put aside to go ahead and work on it. But yeah, so we found 100 of those old issues, and we're willing to get rid of 60. So they'll come signed, and you also get a physical copy of the new first issue, and you also get a physical copy of the trade paperback.
Yeah. Nice. And then we've got Art of the Deal.
Yeah. Well, I do things traditionally now, whereas most of the trade paperback was done digitally.
Mm-hmm.
So with this new issue, I have 22 pages of that I can get rid of, but I'm not getting rid of all 22. I'm getting rid of 17 or 19. Is it something like that? Oh, let's see here.
It says 19 on the page.
19 pages. I'm getting rid of 19 pages. So all these, I don't think you're going to find a better deal for original art. Plus you get the physical copy of the new #1 and the trade paperback. But I mean, if you can, go for it. But I also draw bigger than most other artists too. I draw it 15 by 23. So you don't get a dinky 11 by 17 page. You get a massive page to go ahead and frame and put up next to the issue. Yeah.
There you go. And then I collect vinyl.
Okay, that was just to add it. So what we're doing is we're getting vinyl picture discs done. So it's a vinyl record. It's a 45 with the Rockabilly Roadtrip theme song on it. That's the theme song you heard during the live action trailer. And that was performed by the Vulture Club up in Great Britain. Now,
nice.
Those guys are a hellbilly band up there, and they're pretty badass. Hellbilly is like country on metal.
Nice.
So, and yeah, so I finally got the final figures in, and we're able to offer that. Plus, you also get copies of the newest issue and the trade paperback along with it. Yeah, so and the vinyl comes signed. I'll sign that, and the sleeve, whatever. So yeah, and that's going to be highly collectible because I'm telling you, there's not going to be a lot around. If anybody remembers back in the day when Marvel reprinted the Fantastic Four, #1, Thor, Journey into Mystery 83, and they did the Golden Record reprints where they put a record with the comic.
Yep.
This is something like that, and that shit is seriously sought after now on eBay and everywhere else. I mean, it's in thousands.
Yep.
So yeah, so this is going to be something like that.
And then we've got This Should Cover It.
So that is the original artwork for the cover of the trade paperback. It's like I said, it's 15 by 19, 15 by 23. So, and it's inked, and there's a bigger version in the Kickstarter lineup right there. But yeah, it's so you get that, you get the trade, and you also get the floppy, the newest #1, and that all comes signed. And I think, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yep. There's also the iTunes special, but real quick, just so that people can see, this is the cover art we're talking about here.
Yes, and that's 350. Like that's super reasonable.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the iTunes special.
So iTunes special is so for the Vulture Club released the Rockabilly Roadtrip theme song along with the I can't remember the other song that came with that, but it's two songs you get with it. And so what we're giving away here is I did the original artwork for that advertisement for iTunes, and I still have it. But hopefully not for long. So what we're offering is the fully painted piece of art that I did for the for iTunes, the iTunes release of the Rockabilly Road Trip theme song. Yeah, so that's again huge piece of work, signed, painted, everything like that. Yeah.
There you go, folks. So that's what the tiers are. Yeah, this is
also you get the floppies, well the physical copies of the books.
Yep. Yeah. And then this is an image of the art itself. And
yeah, that's without the dress. Like the dress to go ahead and for the advertisement dress, like the type and the extra crap they put on it.
Good stuff. And yeah, here's the full color version of the cover for those who haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
So.
Hail to the king.
Amen.
Hit a couple of power swords in that chair too, like Thundercats and Sword of Eternia.
Let's see if I can spot it real quick. It's man, I can't even spot it.
Oh, you will. It's so obvious. It's just it blends in with everything in the background.
But anyway, yeah, these, for those wondering, these right here at the bottom of the page are the black and whites that you'll get in the trade paperback.
Yes.
And back then, did you ink these, or did you have somebody else ink it for you?
Well, I was doing everything digitally.
Digital, right? So
yeah, so it was. And one thing I can say, the reason why I didn't like digital is because everything came out too smooth, and it wasn't like it was too slick, I guess, and it wasn't hands on. And I got to tell you, like working digitally, I was a lot slower than I am doing physical work, traditional work.
Yeah.
So, and I have a feeling it's because I'm a hands-on type of guy when it comes to stuff like that. Yeah. And digital was just too foreign. Like I was good at it. It's just that, I was just too separated from the work, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people work well digital. I'm just not that person.
No, I know what you mean. Cause like my artist on Englewood has even told me that he's like, yeah, because that book is like, there's the first 24 pages and then there's like an issue 0 at the start of it. And he's like, I'm doing that all traditional because that'll go twice as fast. And I'm like, holy shit, I didn't even realize it. So,
yeah, it's a weird thing. Like, plus there's another aspect to it too. Like if you work digital, there's no original. You know what I'm saying? Like, whereas when you do traditional, you're setting yourself up for a whole different like income bracket.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I know that we plan on selling quite a few of the pages on 3 nights.
Oh, all 3 nights is going to be physical. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're doing all of the
traditional
physical.
Anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely something I've noticed. Not to mention it's a bonus for the collectors too, because I know Malin, he does everything digital too, and like whenever he has done like drawn and quartered or stuff like that, he's got to send stuff out on a print. He can't really just sell the original artwork, which is kind of a bummer.
Well, that sucks. And I got to tell you, like if you could get a page from the first Ninja Turtles or something like that, how awesome is that, dude?
I know.
And it's crazy. Like, yeah, and Malin's book went, God, how much do you make? Like $100,000 on that book?
On the first one, yeah, and on this recent one, he made, I think, like $200,000 between, because he did the original campaign, then he had Andrew do a cover for a reprint.
How
So
much you think he could have made if he would have got rid of the original pages?
I think if he had auctioned them off on Ethan's stream, he probably would have made another grand
Yeah,
easily.
well, per page, you think?
Yeah,
Like,
probably
yeah, yeah,
because
that's what I'm thinking.
because Ethan makes about that much, if not well, no, Ethan makes
And
like
that,
during auctions like makes about 1,500 per
yeah,
page that he does, and I could imagine that John would probably get close to that.
and
Um,
not that's not even counting the cover. Like the
yeah,
cover usually
exactly.
goes for about $3,000, on those guys' properties. So, I mean, I mean, what is that? A new car?
I
How
know
many
it's
pages are we talking about? Like, if we're
yeah,
talking about like 40 pages or something like that,
exactly. Like man, it's pretty
or a
crazy.
house.
I've seen people, man, drop a ton of money on original comic book art. I mean, there's some people in CG that they are at every single auction that Ethan does, and they've got like 3 grand just sitting in their bank account, ready to snatch something up.
Oh, absolutely. That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. Whenever I do shows like cons, like what separates me from everybody else that's peddling like prints and stuff like that is I got full blown paintings. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
exactly.
So when I leave the show, like I've always had a good show. Like there's very rarely when I've had a bad show because of that. Um, and that's like, I mean, that's where I made my bones at was off of original artwork.
Yeah,
So there's definitely, especially for guys that are coming up, and they don't have a lot of income or they're not making a lot off of their campaigns. You need that original art to go ahead and at least draw it in the computer and ink it. Print it out and ink it.
oh
That way
yeah.
you got an original piece. Yeah.
Because yeah, like whenever CG Con, like I don't know if Ethan realizes this, but I think that when CG Con got announced, given how many like of our titles are going to have time to ruminate over the course of another year, which is already starting financially big for a lot of people,
Yeah.
like the ability to have a convention where we can actually sell those pieces of art or signed copies of books and stuff like that's going to be a good weekend for all of us money wise.
Oh, absolutely. Because you got a whole convention full of friendlies.
Exactly. Exactly.
People
So
will want to see you succeed.
yep. I love in the chat here, Metal. I love this guy's name, Metal Movies and Brewskis. When you create physical, you have to commit to the bit. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. But yeah, guys, Rockabilly Road Trip. The link is getting passed around by the mods right now, and
I am the artist of the stories. Somebody just asked that, like the
yes,
angry
yeah,
green boss.
Preston
Yeah.
is the artist on this one. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and talk a bit about because not only do you have this, and we'll talk about our project to close everything out, but Doc Salem, you are going to be bringing that back to Indiegogo after the first try, and kind of roll people through what has kind of changed for this project between the first run and the next one that you're going to give a shot with.
So what I did with this one, I had a lot of feedback on the coloring. Like, I like the coloring. I thought the coloring was awesome, but the a lot of people didn't like it, and so what I did was I hired a new colorist. I went ahead and just said, screw it, let me find somebody else. And I got the same guy that actually colored Road Trip, the Road Trip #1.
Yeah.
So that's sorry. So that's what we got. And if you go to the page, I think I'm trying to pull up a page right now so that you can see the difference between the old and the new type of thing. Let's see here. Here we go. All right. Okay. Well, I don't see it, so I'll
What I
send
will
you.
do, let me get the link over to my mods real quick and have them throw it into the chat for everybody. So Brain and Hardboiled, it's in the Discord server for you guys to let everybody see it.
Actually, let me see here. Let's try a to share a screen.
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and pull something up on my computer real quick. All right, so all right. Hope I don't drop out. If I drop out, just
I'll get you back in. Don't worry.
let's see. All right. Yes, here we go. Okay, so
There we go.
this is the new colors for Rockabilly Roadtrip, and this is the new one. And here's an example of the old. If I can find it. Let's see, that's not it. All right. So you can pretty much see the difference. Like the old style was a cell shade
Yeah.
type of work, and the new one is more of a like a modern type of coloring look, and so put them side to side, and God damn it. All right.
There you go.
Yeah. So you see the difference right there. Like the pink background, that's the old coloring style, and here's the new one right here. It's a night and day almost. Like it's more dynamic and it's more it's got a lot more contrast in the new pages.
Yeah, it's
Um,
very vibrant. It just kind of pops straight off the page.
exactly. Yeah. So that was one thing like people were complaining about. So I went ahead and took that to heart and made changes to that. I've also got a ton of new pages done for it too. Let me pull up one, and this is pretty much what you can expect when we do 3 nights, 4 days. Is like here's one of the pages where it's a Lovecraftian beast called the Gug, and he has these sacks on his back, and when they burst, it gives birth to these monsters called the Ghast, and this all falls within the Lovecraftian realm. And here's another one where it's an overhead shot at a Gug, yeah,
Can you zoom in a
rising
little bit on
from
that?
huh?
Can you
Oh
zoom in a
yeah,
little bit on it?
definitely.
Yeah. So that way people can see it just a little bit better. So that way these guys can get like a sense of scale of this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a bunch of cop cars like blowing at him and stuff like that. And then you got a werewolf doing some like a flip over the top of him, like yeah, like Matrix style, blowing him up. Yeah, it's craziness, dude. It's all hell's breaking loose in this issue. And then we go
Nice.
back one more, and we got one of the werewolves like dodging a piece of building and then running up the arm of the Gug. Yeah, it gets insane. Yeah,
This is what
yeah,
comic books should be, in my opinion.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's one thing I can say about Salem. It's almost nonstop action, and that's one thing that I feel that a comic book should be. And there's no political stance on this either. Like if you're just looking to get lost for a little while and leave your day behind, this is the book for you. As well as Road Trip, those are books that I'm not making any type of political stance in any of that kind of crap. Like it's just yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's escapism. That's what it's about.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's what it's supposed to be. And
yeah.
for you guys who see the link posted in the chat by the mods for Doc Salem, you can sign up for the mailing list. When are you planning on going live with that one?
I was thinking of going next month, but I'm starting to rethink that a little bit. And it's not because I don't think the campaign will do well. It's just because I want the colors to have some time to get everything done.
Mm-hmm.
And between promoting the beginning of promoting Road Trip and going ahead and working on 3 nights, I still have a lot of inking to do for those pages. Yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, because this isn't supposed to be a slick book. I mean a rough book. It's supposed to be slick.
yeah,
And
exactly.
so that slows things down a little bit. But like I said, Road Trip's completed. So if you back Road Trip, you're getting a book. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
There you go, man. So yeah, I'm looking forward to both of them for sure. So when do you plan on? And you'll be shipping out on road trip probably around the time the campaign ends, right?
Probably uh, May, 5/20. We'll probably be shipping road trip out, like fulfilling. Unless there's some delay as far as like getting the albums done or getting, something like, or a delay at the printer, some type of snag. Everything should flow pretty well. Also, let me mention, Road Trip is Malin approved.
Yes.
He actually backed the book, and he's seen some merit in it. So
Yeah, you definitely did really well on that stream because John, like, I'm like, of all the guys in there, I'm like, I really hope they start with Preston first because he's a pro, so he can take criticism. I know he can. And then,
well, I was expecting her to give me criticism, but he
yeah,
he was kind of laid back, and I was like, okay, well, Mandy's over there. She's all sugar. You know what I'm
oh
saying?
yeah,
Like, I was like, okay, all right, Mandy's good cop.
yeah,
Let the
definitely,
bad cop come in and go and rip me apart. He's like, well, I ain't got really much to say. Your
yeah.
campaign looks solid. It's a little wordy in the beginning, but other than that, oh, your prices were low. That was one thing he said.
Yeah,
Like
and
the
that's
prices.
I'm telling you, he told me almost the exact same thing with
Yeah,
Englewood. So
yeah.
when you don't get it as brutal as the other two guys, you're definitely in a good spot. So
Yeah. Well, he's like he said, kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
oh yeah,
You know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? Like, there's no need to complicate things, And from what I've learned with customers, like, they don't want it to be complicated. They want to just see what they want and get it. That's it. Yeah. So if you have to put like paragraph after paragraph after paragraph to explain why your book is good, maybe you need to retool it a little bit, and do some work on it.
Yeah. And the good thing about John is like he's a pretty tough critic, but he'll always help you to improve. He's not telling you anything just to break you down. You
Yeah.
know. So
No,
that's
no, he's his heart's in the right place. I mean, do I agree with everything he said? Maybe not, but for the most part, absolutely. He knows what he's talking about, and yeah, but
one thing that got mentioned in the chat is people are like, why does Lovecraft stuff get used as much now? Well, I'd say that Lovecraft has probably gotten more popular over the last
well,
10 years for sure. Not to mention a lot of those monsters they're in the public domain.
honestly, Doc Salem, I didn't want to limit it to like the classic Universal type of monsters. I want to have a little bit of everything. And as far as the kaiju and stuff like that, I could have like made up a bunch of kaiju and put them in there, but I think more people are familiar with Lovecraftian beasts, and they're pretty much kaiju,
Yeah,
they're
pretty
gods.
much.
So yeah, and the storyline for Doc Salem is that the walls are breaking down, and the interdimensional walls are breaking down. So, due to the something that's going on with the monster mobs, like the night tribes, so and that's actually like kind of the main plot in there, is the night tribes, because what happens is they try to recruit the werewolves. You know what I'm saying? But the werewolves, they're kind of separate from all the other night tribes because they're more nature bound. So they're actually there to protect the earth, in nature, and if even if that means like spilling human blood,
Yeah,
and so when they invite the werewolves to the monster mob, which is this council that sits around this pentagram, and there's a mob for each point of the pentagram, and and he explained to them like, hey, we need you guys aboard so we can call forth Cthulhu, and we'll be immortal, but they have to eat the planet,
yeah, exactly.
and they're like, that's not going to happen, dude. So they released the Gug, and but yeah, I didn't want to limit it, and I've always been a fan of like Lovecraftian horror, because it's a different type of horror.
Yeah,
But within Doc Salem, you're gonna find Lovecraftian horror. You're gonna find like the Universal monsters. You're gonna find all this kind of crap in there. Yeah. So maybe even Greek gods eventually.
yeah.
And I do have one character that's going to be introduced too. It's Gary the Hell Knight. And he's kind of a combination between uh like Damon Hellstorm and Etrigan the Demon and shit like that. Yeah,
Nice.
because those are some of my favorite characters from Marvel and DC. And yeah, Kirby did know what he was doing when he made Etrigan.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's fun, dude. It's crazy fun, and I just hope people enjoy it as much as. Now, here's another thing too. Like Doc Salem, the email list on Doc Salem within 24 hours almost surpassed like Rockabilly Road Trip's pre-campaign email list. So that's a good thing, dude. That really that says a lot as far as like what people thought of the original Doc Salem campaign. You know. But I think that one was just launched at the wrong time. Like it was too close to the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, it was also just kind of a tough time to even get people to back comics.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it
everybody
was.
felt it in their wallets at that point in time. I remember talking it over with Ethan. I'm like, dude, all this nonsense that's going on, it's hurting everybody.
Well,
You
it was
know,
the drama, and that's one thing I've been telling people too. Like if like if you let that drama get in the way and it causes one CG book to fail, they win. No matter if they got to you or they ruined your reputation or not, their goal isn't to go ahead and ruin your reputation. That's the obvious tactic. But the more insidious tactic is to distract you long enough so that they can cause one of the CG books to fail. You
exactly.
know, and that's exactly what they did. Mission accomplished. You know, and yeah. So all I can say, this is probably the best advice you're going to get. When people talk shit, keep your head down and keep working
Yep.
because while they're talking shit, they're not producing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Exactly.
in the end, your portfolio is going to build. You're going to have, your campaigns doing well. So yeah,
Yeah. Somebody in the chat says, I still don't get the drama with Comicsgate. You know what? It's honestly not worth getting. It
yeah,
honestly isn't. Like today, there was some craziness that happened this morning, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this unbridled goofiness of these crazy freaking people. I've got work to do, you know?
exactly. No, you're right. Oh, one other thing too. Like, I forgot to mention this, and this is pretty critical. Um, Doc Salem #1 is also going to be launching unless one of you guys jump like put out a book quickly. It's going to launch the first Comicsgate crossover. It's going to be it's going to be the crossover is going to be called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and it's going to feature Doc Salem, the Literature Devils, Doc Alpha, and Brian Kristoff's Six Gun Gorilla. So all of those are going to be tied up into this massive crossover between all three books.
That I really like.
Yeah. And I encourage that too, dude. Like, because I think that'll bring everybody together and like merge the universes a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Because, yeah, Literature Devil's on to something interesting with Doc Alpha.
Yeah.
I'm definitely curious to see where he goes with that. And then Brian's just a peach of a human being.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and
Brian's got almost 7 issues out of Six Gun Gorilla. Like
yeah,
he's been pounding those things away. And yeah, I read the Doc Alpha script and it's really good. Yeah. Like, and it's a whole different take than anything else that's going on in CG, I think, because like, I mean, if you look at it, like it's about a villain. Like it's not a superhero book. It's a villain book, It's not an anti-hero book. It's a villain book. Yeah. And yeah, that's like also Road Trip. I guess Road Trip will be pretty innovative too because that's not a superhero book either.
yeah,
It kind of is. Maybe you can compare it to Supernatural or Ash versus the Evil Dead,
yeah.
but you know, I
That's definitely
guess
what like kind of along the lines that I would put it for sure.
yeah,
So I think though that one thing that I know people are going to want to know about is because we're entering that time period because Englewood is the pencils are almost finished and the colors are about little around the third of the way there because color work is always the longest part,
yeah,
especially because my guys that I'm working on it with are new to the business, so they're still working on being able to get stuff done quickly, which is not easy on colors.
no, it's not.
Yeah.
Colors are a bitch.
So this is something that I will promise to everybody that's in the chat right now is obviously Preston is a pro. He's been doing this for a long time. He's worked for Antarctic as well. I mean, you did a book with Chuck Dixon, so
Yeah, I did.
yeah,
And also I did a cover for Valiant too, like
yeah.
the Punk Mambo series. Yeah, and
It,
yeah, a
and
few
then
things.
the colorist that we've got on this book, Edgar, is awesome, and
Yeah,
he's. This is how you know a colorist has been doing it for a long time because he turned in those colors on that promo art, and I'll pull that up for everybody. He turned this in like a day or two after we talked to him about it, if I remember
yeah.
right.
Edgar's quick. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's super quick.
quick and quality too. That's what like caught me off guard. Like when he sent this, I'm like, this has to be a work in progress, right? He's like, no, this is done. I'm like, wait, what? This is done? And I'm like, there's no way he did this in 24 hours without help, but he did, and it looks as good as the pages on Englewood do. So, yeah, needless to say, I'm not quite sure what to do with this promo art yet. I'm thinking what we'll end up doing is, because I don't want to do like T-shirts and posters on the campaign. I think that what we'll do is we'll set up like a Shopify or something like that, and we'll sell maybe this as like a poster art or something like that.
Yeah, that'll probably shipping posters is such a pain in the
I
ass.
know, especially the tubes. The tubes are freaking expensive.
Yeah, they're actually more expensive than the actual poster. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like,
I mean,
I
you
don't know
can
if
get
I
them
would.
on surplus, which is what I'm doing for Englewood. So I'll have some
Yeah,
extras, but
I would actually think about doing maybe a banner, like a cloth banner or something like that, something you can fold and bag and not worry about getting damaged.
might not be a
Yeah,
bad idea.
yeah.
I don't know where we'd get that done through, but
Oh, there's plenty of we could find some places. It won't be
true,
that
because
bad.
the benefit of going through Shopify is that Hatman, the editor, he's a partial owner of a print shop,
Yeah,
so that's how we're doing all the posters and the T-shirts and stuff like that. So, but they just do screen printing.
yeah.
So
A screen printed poster is awesome, but they're super expensive.
yeah,
And usually you don't want to go more than one color because the more colors you go, the more expensive it gets.
yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, this would I think that would probably be a really good choice for this. So, but yeah, and then I don't think that I know that some of these pages are not completed. So let's kind of preface that for people. But
hmm
um,
I made the adjustments to those pages. I just haven't sent them over to you yet.
yep.
Yeah.
But this is the
I'll put them.
one that I think I've shown people, aside from the promo art, that I've shown people the most. For those of you who have not seen it, is the satyr. This is probably one of the nastiest monsters from this book because there's two big ones. There's the satyr, and then there's one that I just called the beast. I can't wait to
hmm
see what you do with him. But the satyr is probably one of the creepiest ones, just because this is how he's introduced, and the setup for this page is like something out of Berserk. So
Yeah, that's one of the things that's most attractive about this is because it's a lot like Berserk, except you don't have one guts, you have three.
yeah, three of them. Yeah, exactly. But it definitely lets us, because I've got my Miura art right here. You can't really see it on camera, but um, it's such a great fantasy story that like nobody ever really gets into, and this is sort of like the one way that I've always wanted to do fantasy is like take a story like um, the 13th Warrior
Hmm?
and just take it up to 11. It's like, because in the 13th Warrior, it's like there's all this mythical stuff about like maybe they're demons or maybe they're not. No, they're just dudes. Like,
Yeah.
fuck that. Have it be actual demons.
Yeah, that was like usually I'm disappointed when it turns out to be just guys and it's
Yeah.
nothing mystical about it. But with the 13th Warrior, actually I wasn't. I was just like, okay, it's still cool. It
Now,
was
one
really
question I
cool.
would have is, I know that we've planned out what we wanted to do for the cover. Have you gotten started on it, or is there anything you want to show off yet, or
No,
not
not
quite?
yet. No,
Okay,
no, I still have a lot to do to it.
we're gonna
Like
keep
I
that
do have
under
the
wraps.
layout in mind, but I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries,
Um,
brother. But just to kind of
did you get a
show,
logo done? You got a logo
Eric
done for
Weathers,
it?
I need to talk with him about that because he's also doing lettering work on Englewood. But he'll be doing it for us. So
Yeah.
because Eric's lettering the book anyway. So But yeah, so this way you guys can kind of see kind of a basis of what the action is really going to look like in this is very heavy, very bloody, and a lot of just constant go 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 whenever it picks up. Um, I've had Von Klaus actually read the script, and he was he had all the only things that he really had criticism wise for it were all just like maybe you should add some sound effects in the script. And I'm like, that's it? And he's like, yeah, that's it. This book is ready to go. And I'm like, so
Yeah, I would definitely add sound effects.
yes, because some of these is so you can see this is very juicy, to say the least. Like this is gonna be there's people getting decapitated left and right. What I'm really looking forward to seeing how Edgar takes these particular panels, like the flames and the fog that have rolled in and all that. How he'll color that, because that will look just gorgeous.
Yeah, it's all about the lighting. I mean, the lighting. You know, like he's got to utilize that fire in the middle of the circle, and you know,
Yep. Because for those of you who are in the chat who are prospective artists and prospective writers, we'll do Q&A here in a second. We can give you guys some tips on each element of what we're working on this book, and probably anything that we'll do together in the future. Is the big thing about setting up a scene like this, and I've kind of shown the pages backwards, is that you want to give a sense of impending doom whenever it comes to setting up an action scene where something horrifying is coming, something that's a little otherworldly. And as you can see here, how we crafted this is you've got two of the main knights. You've got Sir Roger here, who is the hero of the story, and then Sir John, one of his closest friends, and then Sir Dietrich down here, the one we based off of Dolph Lundgren. Everybody's going to love Dietrich because he's huge. He's like 6'6". He carries a giant hammer. What's not to love? And basically, they're using themselves as bait to bring these cultists out, and you could just see how they emerge from the fog. It really feels like they're teleported in almost, and that's the vibe that I wanted to go for when I wrote this. Is that you want to make sure that something doesn't seem right about the whole situation. There's vulnerability right out of the gate with your heroes, because these things that are emerging look like something out of a Robert E. Howard book, and they look like they could eat people, which they do. But yeah. So what was kind of when you started putting these pages specifically, like what did you take inspiration of on the look? Like what kind of comes into your brain when you're working on this sort of thing?
I actually I go with instinct whenever I'm doing stuff like this. Like I do research, like massive amounts of research into like the dress, and then the like the cityscapes and what the cityscapes were like in that time. But the you kind of have to go with an idea and a feel. You know what I'm saying? Like first you find your lighting source, and then you go ahead and you try and make it look horrifying. And yet, like you said, you want to get across that feel of impending doom, or something's happening, like kind of like The Fog, the movie,
Yeah.
where the fog's there and it gets creepier and creepier until something actually happens. Yeah. And also facial expressions. Always keep your facial expressions. Like don't ever make your characters look like they're just staring off into space. There's a mood and there's a feel of everything.
Yep. These two images I think are just this right here. This especially this close up of Sir Roger when he first sees what's coming out of the fog. There's you get what we want to do, definitely, just to communicate this to the audience, is we want to make sure that you guys feel like you're in this, like you're actually experiencing the same dread that they're experiencing, and not to mention just tell a good story just through facial expression. You see Roger's worry, you see the kind of the stoic, scary calm of Dietrich, which is part of what makes, I think, him as unique of a character as he is that he really is this mountain of a human being that's just, he knows that when he needs to knuckle down, he will knuckle down in an instant. And then when you guys see what he's capable of doing in combat, you'll be like, oh shit. No wonder these guys got through the siege of Jerusalem almost completely unscathed. So So what we're gonna do now, because we've been going at this for about an hour,
Hmm.
is we're gonna do some Q&A with
Sweet.
with the
Bring it.
chat here to see exactly what they think and what they would like some advice on. Because I get writing questions all the time. Now finally I can have an artist with me to answer art questions. Because goodness gracious, like man, that is something I don't know dick about. I've thought about learning how to do color work because like you can do it digitally, but I don't know if I'm gonna even attempt it. So we'll see
Well,
what
there's a
happens there.
theory to color work. If you're going to do color work, you have to learn color theory. I know it
Yeah.
sounds weird, but like I had to learn color theory when I was doing a lot of painting, and it actually it's sound. Like everything they say is sound. You know,
Hmm.
it's actually DC Comics put out a book on like a whole book on color theory. Yeah, I can't remember the name. I actually got it somewheres around here. I just don't know. Yeah, where it's at. But it actually helped me. You know, it's on par with the book that How to Draw the Marvel Way. And even though that book was produced, I think in the 80s or 70s or something like that, it's
Yeah.
still relevant. You know.
Oh, absolutely. So relevant. There was a Venom comic recently where where the artist for it literally ripped off from How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Sal Buscema who did that, or was it?
I
Is
don't think
was it? Is that the dad or is that the kid?
I think it's his
Uh,
kid who did it.
John Buscema.
Yeah.
John Buscema's the guy who did it. Yeah, and yeah, John was a master. Like he followed Kirby, and Kirby was a master, but John Buscema had that dynamic feel to the movements of his characters. Yeah, and in how to draw the Marvel way too. Actually, Kirby they use Kirby's lighting theories in there, and
Yeah.
his blacks and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Kirby. A lot of people don't know this. I understand that Kirby has a very, some people think is like too old school of a style. There's a lot of things that Kirby did back in the day that he was very ahead of his time as an
I
artist.
know. Yeah, absolutely. Like when I plan those fight scenes out, I'm actually using Kirby theory in that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, yeah, it's all a dance,
Yeah,
and
Kirby's
just
art
use
had
the
a great
partner.
sense of motion to it.
Yeah.
He knew how to
I
do
have
action.
oh yeah, I collect vintage comics and I got boxes dedicated to Kirby.
Yeah.
Like all of his Fourth World stuff, all of his well, I don't have all of the Thor. I'm missing, a few issues, but I got most of his, like 100 to 200 and so many issues before then. And
Nice.
each one of those issues is like insane. But you can tell when he first started out and he had this passion for it, and then when he lost his passion,
Yeah.
because his work did suffer at the end before he left to go to DC. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Hardboiled Entertainment asks, so as a writer, his question is, how detailed do you recommend writing the shot descriptions? So we can kind of both tell, since you've read my scripts, like I am a stickler for detail. What I prefer to do is I like to make sure that whenever I'm communicating, what you've got to keep in mind is that you have to, the old turn of phrase is that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So basically, you have to give all of the words that are appropriate for the artist to see what's in your head. And for me, I recommend going pretty well detailed so that they have at least enough to have an idea of what this is. You don't want the artist, feeling like he's got to play a game of 20 questions before he can actually put pencil to paper. So that's my side of things. How detailed do you like it to be, Preston?
Well, the more detail, the better. But that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to follow the instructions on a writer's end, because there's a divide between the two where the artist looks at things visually, where the writer looks at things with more of an emotional eye. See what I'm saying? Like where you look at it and you're like, this would be cool because we're gonna have blood here and all that kind of crap. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, we got to change this up because I need it to be more dynamic, and this scene has to be pronounced where this scene has to be put in the background. You see what I'm saying? Like, and plus you only have so much room on a page, and we're only dealing with so many panels. So another thing too is one action per panel. Like you can't do like he runs across the field and slices somebody's head off in one panel. Yeah, that's multiple plant panels. Yeah.
Yep. And that is something that is, man, I don't know if I could actually teach somebody to do that. That's the tough thing.
Well, when I wrote my first book, and this is after me doing several books, I broke those rules.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize it until I went to illustrate it. I did a book called Non-Devils. And what happened was the pages looked cluttered because I was trying to stick to what I wrote. And what I found is the pages where I had 5 panels, it was actually 10 panels.
Yeah.
And I really screwed the pooch on out. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's certain tricks you can do to kind of convey motion over a course of panels. Because I know that there's one page in the book. I'm not going to spoil to people what's going on, but we have the lead character. He's got one of his axes and he's diving at someone, and I wanted to have the motion of him going across a span. So basically, what you can do is, you can have whatever that expanse is of space, but divide it into 3 panels, each of them being part of the leap. Or there's other ways that Preston might do it whenever he gets there. So
Well, you see, somebody in the chat said that Kirby and Ditko didn't age well. Well, it's not really about their art style; it's about their art theory. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? And that's one thing that they excelled at. Because the way Marvel worked back then. I mean, yeah, Stanley wants to say he created everything. All right, whatever. He didn't, but
yeah,
and he didn't really write everything either. He filled in the blanks because what they had the artists doing back then was actually plotting out and drawing the whole story, and then they would present it to him, and he would go ahead and write in, whatever he had to write in to make it make sense. But so in doing that, they had to actually plot everything out and draw it out. So they had to become proficient at seeing how battle scenes would take place and how to do one action per panel, but make it flow through the book so that it wasn't, you never really noticed it that way. You see what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And so yeah, there's a lot to be said about that, and back then, I mean, Marvel didn't know it at the time, but they were actually training the artists to be writers. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Because the way that I would put it is like Black Sabbath is not necessarily the most complex band you're ever going to hear.
No.
But heavy metal doesn't exist without them. In the same way, like a lot of comics don't exist without Kirby, and especially on the art plays, because he set the standards. He laid the foundation for which everything else would be built upon. So that's a big part of it. And yeah, theory is what is the element that's going to stand the test of time.
Yeah, no, and you're right, actually. And there's another thing about that too. Like everybody thinks like Image came out with the most dynamic panel layouts ever, but it wasn't. It was actually Neil Adams. Neil Adams was the first one to do stuff like that. Like his panel layouts were insane.
Mm-hmm.
He was breaking the fourth. He was breaking borders and stuff like that first. You know, where Kirby is kind of responsible for those Image guys too, because Kirby was doing stuff like, he was doing full page spreads, he was doing double page spreads, stuff like that with these massive sceneries.
Yeah.
And yeah, and his his characters were so dynamic that's what inspired Liefeld and McFarlane and all those guys to go ahead and do their panel work that way.
Exactly.
And their characters.
Yeah, there's stuff in that like that. There's a lot of people just kind of point to Spawn #1 as sort of the premier book. I'm like, there's a lot of stuff in Spawn #1 that he pulls from Kirby, he pulls from Frank Miller and other stuff like that. So, and Miller pulled a lot from Kirby too.
Yeah, if you want to know the truth, the reason why comics suck now,
because they're getting away from that,
is because they haven't been following the rules that Kirby set down. Yeah, it's okay to be realistic with your art, but you still have to be dynamic. It's a superhero book. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's the key. Yeah, and they're just boring. Like nothing's going on. What's that guy, Greg Land? You know? The guy traces everything. Like literally, if you can get away and be on the top of the food chain by tracing porn stars and magazine covers and getting away with it, and people are hiring you to do all these X-Men books, dude, that says something about the industry. That doesn't say something about the artist. That says
Yeah,
something about that they're really like just giving up and being like, yeah, this will work. Yeah. You want to know why CG is popular?
that's
Because
part of it.
most of us follow Kirby's rules and Ditko's rules.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I'm probably going off on a tangent, but look at EVS. Look at EVS's style. I got his Cyberfraud book. I can point to everything that he uses Kirby tactics in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, his stuff is super dynamic. You know?
Yeah, him, art, like especially art, like art stuff on Chrono Mechanics that I've seen. He's like,
Oh, Tabar,
yeah,
yeah.
like very similar. A lot of really dynamic stuff. That's also something that Narwhal gets really well too.
Well, Narwhal has more of an anime style,
Yeah.
like, and anime is super dynamic too. Um, but I talked to him a little bit, I mean, very little, but I think he like goes into perspectives. Like he's a
Yes.
perspective guy.
Yeah.
And like there was an old theory, like there's some artists that can manipulate the camera, which is the panel, and I think Narwhal's that guy. But there's other artists that can manipulate the figure and go ahead and make their panels based on how they manipulate the figures, you know. So because that's what a comic is. It's like a movie, And if you can mess with that camera enough, you can get just the right angles to go ahead and make it interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He definitely strikes me as a guy who spent a lot of time looking up like what different camera angles are and stuff like that, and
Mm-hmm.
how they're used and different lens types and things like that. Because he really has that sort of dynamic. I don't even know how to like almost like an indie film is kind of what it
Yeah.
feels like sometimes.
Yeah.
Whereas
Well,
like
he
with
was.
me, I'm trying to be freaking what's his name who did Predator and
Oh,
Die Hard. John McTiernan is like
yeah.
my favorite director. So that's the school I'm coming from is like those. I'm big on low angle shots for perspective and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So
Yeah. No. No, you're right. They. Shoot, I've lost my train of thought. Screw it.
but
All
as the people in the
right.
audience saw, like you could tell by how Preston, I even tell him the angle of like where the camera sits of a shot. And that's another thing that I would recommend from the writing perspective, looking up is like what different camera angles are, what they do for you, so on and so forth, how they can present an image, and so on and so forth. Because
Well, Zed Hero just hit on something. Like he said, one of his favorite artists is Arthur Adams. That's my favorite artist. That's that's the guy I actually base my style on. Kirby, I use his theory, but as far as style itself, I kind of go off of Adams. Adams has always been my favorite artist.
yeah,
That's why I cram so much detail into my work. And actually, to be honest, I met Arthur Adams at a convention, and that was the convention that turned me to start like drawing at 15 by 23 because that's how Arthur Adams draws. That's how he
yeah,
condenses all that detail into a page. Yeah. Yeah. You learn stuff by going out and meeting these guys. Yeah.
oh yeah, absolutely. Said, let's keep going here. Talon Silverbane had actually well, there was one who came in above Talon. Couple. Tom the
Hope you
Fish
know in the
says,
chat.
how much of a stickler are you when it comes to anatomy? By the book, are you by the book or are you more exaggerated? And what about the chest area?
I used to be like by the book where I would draw every muscle and everything like that and study anatomy books but that was crazy. Like you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? You have to make mistakes along the way. Um, I don't do that anymore. I mean, because you have to realize like the body has skin over it, so you don't have to define every muscle on the body.
Yep.
Uh, and I'll be honest, like I use reference for everything. Like if there's a complex pose, either I'll go ahead and like I have a huge reference library where I can pull from just to get the arm right or the angle of the shoulder or something like that. And when that fails, I also have these little guys right here.
There you go, man.
And pose them where I need them and just go ahead and go off of it from there. But you don't have to be exactly right on everything. And in fact, Arthur Adams isn't exactly right on everything. He's got a definite underlying cartoony style to his realism. Yeah. Yeah. And all those guys are fans of anime. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
There's a lot of that comes over from Japan that and that's the crazy thing. Like a lot of the guys I talk to in comics, like there's a ton of Japanese influence. Like my writing style, like if I were to describe it, I would say like it's a cross between Chris Claremont and Go Nagai at points.
Yeah.
Because I love Devilman. I've always
Oh,
loved
me
Devilman.
too.
Yeah, so good. Did you see
Let me see if
Crybaby,
I
by
can.
the way?
I did actually, and it was hard to get into at first, but after a while, I was just like, yeah, this is pretty good. Hold on
Yeah.
one second, I'll show you my Devilman stuff. Let's see if I can get it. See it up there?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. All those things are expensive, dude. I paid a
I
ton of
bet.
money for that.
It's hard to even get your hands on like an old. I'm wanting like an older, like even if it's not an original, just a page of the Devilman manga.
Oh, dude, that'd be insane.
Yeah,
Like I know they put out.
there's one I have in particular in mind. I don't remember what issue it's from, but it's the one where it's almost like he's being torn in two different people. There's one where you've got Akira's head going one way, and then Devilman is like trying to pull himself out of Akira's body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was one of the dual page spreads like at the beginning of the manga, but I cannot remember which chapter it's in. But yeah, I can't get my hand. I might have to just get it custom printed at some time.
They did put out a Devilman art book, like the Art of Devilman,
Really?
on eBay. I mean, yeah, that fucker's extremely expensive.
Oh, okay.
But it's, I mean, extremely expensive for an art book. So it's like $150 or something like that. Yeah,
Might be worth
like it's
it, though.
affordable. Yeah, and it's all of the black and white art they produced and the character sheets and stuff for the anime and all that kind of stuff, dude. It's insane. I want to get a copy, but then I lost track of it.
Yeah, I know.
Missed out on.
I'm definitely gonna have to get my hands on that. I need to start collecting art books again because I did them for video games for the longest time, and then just it kind of got away from me because I've still got the one from Dead Space.
Dead Space is insane, dude.
Yeah, that game had an amazing art style.
Yeah, and it was creepy.
Oh yeah,
like when everybody was like, what was it? It was Five Nights at Freddy's. Like when that craze was going on, they were like, "That's the scariest game ever." I was like, "You've obviously never played Dead Space."
yeah. It's like you
turned all the lights off in your house and just sat by the TV playing Dead Space.
In fact, I have to ask. At the beginning of the Rockabilly Roadtrip trailer, you have the guy with the chainsaw. Obviously, there's kind of a Leatherface vibe, but he had but the sack he was wearing was that a Resident Evil 4 homage?
No, what happened was me and my Jesse the writer, he's like me, like he does a lot of stuff like as far as crafts and stuff like that. Like he for his Puppeteer series, he actually made the finger puppets, like the hand puppets. Yeah, I got a couple up here. But yeah, and they're sick too, dude. They're like, Electro Joe, and he's the guy with these electrodes on his head because he was put in an electric chair.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he's all into like slasher films and stuff like that. He makes these crazy ass snow globes, like he's got the Thing snow globe, and he made that sack to go over the thing. In fact, that slot machine with the devil head on top of it and the crossbones and all that kind of stuff, that demonic slot machine that Nikki comes out with, and he clicks it and a silver coin comes out, a silver dollar, and hits the vampire in the head. He made that and had it shipped down here to Louisiana so we can shoot the film. In fact, the vampire that gets hit in the head with the silver dollar, that's Jesse.
Nice.
And at the end, the slasher that's on top of the devil driver, that's Jesse too. Now everybody told him, do not get on that car because most of the welds had broken in the face because of it's got a 454 with no suspension.
Yeah.
So, the thing vibrates like crazy and it broke a bunch of the welds. And he was like, well, we got to get the shot. And the stunt guy's like, don't do that, dude. Don't do it. But, when you really want to get something done, you'll do it. And, so he did all that. My part in that production was I built the arm gauntlets for Patches. So all that steampunk stuff she's wearing that's all my creation. And, yeah, so everything we did on there, most of it was hand done, like all the props and stuff like that.
Nice.
And it was crazy, dude.
I love that live action trailer. We got to get back to the Q&A though. Serena wants to know, how do you write a fun story with a logical flow? She's a writer having a hard time developing the first issue of her script. Can logic and fun coexist? Yeah.
But all first issues are going to be the hardest thing you're ever going to produce, because you have to establish the character as far as like a past, present, whatever, and then you have to do a subplot and a plot that's going to carry over to the next issue. Then you have to figure out some way to go ahead and make it a cliffhanger so that people will pull for the next issue.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you need to make it a self-contained story, which can be just as hard. You know, but doing it, what always tripped me out was trying to do that origin story, and not make it sound like kind of shitty.
Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely balancing a lot of plates. I mean, because with Three Nights, we have 88 pages, because it's a self-contained graphic novel, sort of. But we got 88 pages to tell a full-on story arc. So we've got a lot of room to work there. When I did Englewood, I had 36 pages. And it was like, originally I only had 24, but I ended up extending it because I didn't accomplish all those things. So yeah, the big thing is you're definitely gonna be spinning a lot of plates, but the big thing is that, or at least the way that I do it, I outline it before I actually start writing the dialogue and all that stuff, and then from the outline is where I'll start, going from there, because if you outline it, you can actually accomplish all of those things before you even start doing the specific pages and panels. Because if you don't outline it, you don't storyboard it or anything like that, then you're going to find yourself in a place where you're like, okay, I missed this, and I've got all these pages written. I don't know how people just sit down and just write. It's like without an outline, it just drives me nuts.
I come up with a basic plot, and what I do is I sit down and write. But I'm only good for maybe 15 to 30 minutes a day. Mm-hmm. And I sit down with either a martini or something like tequila or whatever. And when I can't see the screen anymore, that's when I stop. And usually I got maybe a few pages done, but I'm always making adjustments, and keeping in mind that you got to establish a subplot, or you got to do the origin story, but not make it sound corny, or make it present itself like it's obviously you're trying to tell an origin story.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's even better just to make it really, really obvious, and to go ahead and, like with Doc Salem, I broke the fourth wall. You know what I'm saying? Like, while he's fighting a monster, he's having flashbacks and telling you his origin story, so everything flows into each other, and then you got the subplot. So the subplot gets established from that first panel, the very first panel. It's complicated, but at the same time it's not. You just have to feel your way through it and envision it while you're doing it.
Yeah, it's something that it comes with time and practice. It's not something that you're going to master the first time out. It's very rare that you're going to find somebody who's like a virtuoso with either of what Preston and I do. And I was like, when I was a kid, people called me a virtuoso with writing. I'm like, I'm not. I go home and I write for hours, to get good at it. And it's the same way with all the instruments I know. I know 5 of them, but 4 of them have like similar structure, because it's like they're all brass instruments. And then like for bass to be even halfway decent at it, I had to just sit like for at least an hour every day and just pluck along. It takes time. So that would be what I would say, is like, maybe even consider when you first start putting pen to paper, is that just say to yourself, I might have to retell this story to myself more than once,
Well, what I did was I listened to audiobooks, and I learned from the pros as far as like listening to how they go and like merge their stories together.
Yeah.
And but I do that while I'm painting too. So I'm like, that's how they did it. Okay. And just keep a mental note of it for later, to go ahead and incorporate. Because if you want to learn, the best way to learn is to learn from the best. You may not be as good as them, but you're going to learn their tactics and their theories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Same thing with Kirby and all that stuff when it comes to art.
Absolutely. Gojira has a question. He says, "Artist question: do you Preston stick to one style, or do you experiment with different styles depending on the book you're working on?"
I think if you experiment with different styles, you're going to set yourself up for a bad outcome. You know what I'm saying? Because you want to be proficient at one style. Like if you look at Arthur Adams, he's proficient at being Arthur Adams. You know what I'm saying? Like if you look at John Byrne, he's proficient at being John Byrne. And both of these guys are the best in the industry. You know, even now they're working stand up to anything that's being produced, you know, by any Marvel artist now. In fact, it surpasses it because those guys suck. But the I used to do this style thing where I was like, I'm a do Todd McFarlane today or whatever. But what you do is you confuse your own style. You know,
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay to do a little cartooning and stuff like that, or even jump like mediums. Like go ahead and do, you know, your style in watercolor or your style in acrylics or your style in oil paints. But I probably wouldn't go ahead and try to mimic and adapt somebody else's style. You know,
Yeah.
like it's okay to model yourself after somebody because you're not actually going to copy them. You're just going to take theories from that person. You know.
Yep, exactly. And that actually ties into Mr. Matchstick's question. Says, how do you establish a character and how do you develop your own style, art, and writing? So they kind of tie into each other. So for writing, what I did when I kind of decided the direction I wanted to go in for the future, I was watching the directors the special edition DVD for Predator, and they were interviewing the cast, and something just kind of clicked for me. Is I mean, you have John McTiernan. He directed Predator. He directed Die Hard. He directed a ton of really, really great action movies. And with him, one thing that he said is that he likes to do action, but he's a character director, meaning that he's kind of the guy who makes these action films where you remember the people in them, you know, because there's something about them that sticks with you. You know, anybody who's seen Die Hard knows John McClane, or Die Hard with a Vengeance, you remember Zeus because he's hilarious. And there's elements of that character that stick with you. You know, when it comes to Predator, you talk to a fan of the original Predator movie, they can tell you the name of the entire squad. You know,
Yeah.
it's because you remember them. There's something about each person that sticks in your brain. And when I started getting into writing and I said I wanted to do comic books, you know, that was what I decided for myself. You know, my inspirations come mainly from Warren Ellis and Frank Miller. But also guys like Peter David and J. Michael Straczynski and what is his name? David Michelini. You know, you want to have you want to have strong characters. You want to have things that people remember. You don't want to be the guy that people, when they put the comic down, they don't remember a single thing that happened in it. They just know that the pictures were pretty. You know, you want to bring those pictures. You want to bring those characters to life because Michael Bay has made a lot of movies that made a lot of money. I couldn't tell you half the characters in Transformers that I didn't know when I was a little kid. So
Well, with Road Trip and all the other stuff that I've done and worked with people on, especially Road Trip, you want to have a contrast. You know what I'm saying? Like if every character's mean and angry and beating people up, then you're not going to remember any of them. You're just going to remember, oh, there's a lot of angry people in that book.
yeah,
But with Road Trip, Nikki is unlike any other character that's going to appear in that book. Patches is the exact opposite of Nikki, and she's unlike any other character you're going to find in that book. So you're going to remember those two characters right off the bat. The bad guy is going to be completely different than both Nikki and Patches. So you're going to remember him too. Yeah. And that's what you have to. You don't want everybody having the same view. You want to have opposing views. That way you create drama and you create like a, you know, you can even draw a plot out of that too.
Oh yeah. And some of these things, as you create these characters, that the conflicts come naturally, and that's one thing that I've always loved about it. Because I'm writing ahead on Englewood and some of the other projects that I'm working on, and just like there's little things that when I write these characters that suddenly come to life of how they would clash with one another. It's like, oh, got to write that down for the future, you know.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's why they have cell phones and they have, you know, voice to note. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So you can just talk right into it and save that for later.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's how your boy Zach did it for a while too, right? I mean, like I was talking to Malin a little bit about that, and he said that he has no compassion for writers because your boy Zach, he wrote most of his book like in his phone, just talking into it.
Oh yeah. See, I'm not that different. And then we have one more question that I missed. Let me find it real quick. And then I think that's going to be it for us tonight. Where'd it go? It's disappeared on me. There it is. Okay, well, it's two questions. For writing, what is a good way to write a stoic character without them being too boring? And for art, is it better to be realistic or stylized? So on that art question, what do you think? Realistic or stylized? What do you prefer to do?
I think this bullshit about the industry's only doing serious art right now is crap. Because I don't, if you look back to the '90s, Jim Lee was super serious. His art was so tight that it was unattractive to me. Like I didn't like it, because it was too formal. But then you had the exact opposite with Todd McFarlane. Like Todd McFarlane's art was like an exaggerated version of Chuck Jones, you know, and the Looney Tunes artist, and both of them both guys were superstars of their time. If And right now everything's serious at Marvel. Do you like anything that's coming out of Marvel?
The only book I
I
read at
mean,
this point is Venom, so yeah, that should tell
that's
you
what I'm
everything.
saying. Like, I mean, one of my favorite artists is Angel Medina. You know what I'm saying? And his style is like a super, like, I don't know. It's a weird, serious, cartoony version. So I don't know if you could say that. What I think is if it's attractive to the eye, it's probably going to be attractive to the reader. So just practice on being good. Don't really worry about being serious or whatever your style is going to be. It's going to be. You know, don't don't really concentrate on doing what you think will be popular. Just do what you feel is good. What you like to do. You know, so there's a lot of you knows in it.
Yeah. So, and then to answer the other question in regards to Stoicism, it's going to depend on whether or not you mean the philosophy of Stoicism, or you mean they're kind of a stone faced character. So, like if they have that philosophy, then they're going to have a different it's going to be their outlook, and it kind of writes itself. They're going to be very logical. They're going to be very to the point, kind of like Spock in a lot of ways. And whereas if you're going to have them being the type that can, deal with crazy hardship and still keep keep their mood as is, and they don't let themselves get affected by those sorts of things. The big thing from a writing perspective is you got to give them something behind that. They can't just be that. They have to have interests. They have to have passions. They have to have because people who are stoic do have passions. They do have interests. They do have things they care about. The thing is, their outward way of dealing with it is going to be completely different. They're gonna approach everything, even the things they care most about, with a very even hand. And that is the sort of thing you have to keep in mind. Is like the stoicism can't be all of it. If that's the only way you can describe the character, you need to flesh them out a little bit more. You need to let them breathe. You need to think of how they would react to certain situations, and that will help you write them, because then you'll start to understand, okay, they're stoic and this. It's not something that it's like gravy. You can't just eat gravy. It's you got to have it over potatoes or over meat or something. Like that's what stoicism is as an emotional anything. So that would be my advice.
I studied a hero's journey. No, nobody starts out stoic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If it is, then you're in danger of being a Mary Sue in that aspect. Test your character and just put him through hardships and let him earn everything, all his badges of honor. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of why, if we're gonna use the Arnold thing again, is why Dutch from Predator is a better overall character than John Matrix. John Matrix does a lot of cool shit, and John Matrix has a lot of hilarious lines, but he's not as interesting as people don't watch Commando for an intriguing movie. They watch it to see shit get blown up. Whereas you get Predator and you watch it, you get a surprisingly fleshed out story that you wouldn't expect from an Arnold Schwarzenegger film. You know, Rambo's another really good example of that. Like there's more to Rambo than just because he starts out as stoic. You know.
Oh, Rambo is such a layered character.
Yeah.
You know, like that was Sylvester Stallone at his best when he wrote that. Yeah. Yeah, like somebody said, like people don't. I think your boy Zach said it. Like you don't know, but like Sylvester Stallone, he's not just a musclehead. Like the guy's a serious writer. You know, he wrote
Oscar
Rocky,
nominated.
And Rocky's the epitome of a hero's journey.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't win his first. I don't think he never won his first fight. No, Rocky
it's a
won,
split decision in favor of Apollo.
Yeah. Like, and he suffered through that too, dude. Like, yeah, it was definitely the hero's journey in that. You know, and that's what everybody's complaining about. That's why comics aren't interested, because everything is being given to the heroes. Like they're not earning anything anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting because some of them, like they say they're chasing Spider-Man. It's like, you didn't read an issue of Spider-Man. Who has suffered more in comic books than Spider-Man? I mean, he's lost a lot. You know, he's probably the prime example, him and Batman, of how a character, a superhero, like they're always born in tragedy. You know, with Englewood, that's why I use the tagline, a hero is born in blood. It's not just a tagline for the comic. It's kind of a commentary on how a superhero is created. So,
yeah, it's like a happy Spider-Man's a boring Spider-Man.
Yeah,
so nobody wants to read.
Just why nobody wants to read Miles Morales.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, can you imagine the Dark Knight just having, you know, being all full of sunshine and unicorns?
Oh, that'd be the worst. It'd be terrible. All right, last call for questions, guys, before we take off for the evening.
Last Blood was good, though. I like that.
I'm watching
Last
that
Blood was
tonight.
awesome.
Actually,
Oh,
I have
it's
not
insane.
seen.
Let me tell you how it ends.
Please don't.
No, it was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah.
You'll like it.
I love me some Stallone, man. The only Rambo movie I think that didn't have a little bit of extra to it was probably 3, but even then it's still fun to watch. You know?
That's the one where a helicopter versus a tank or something like that, or
yeah.
You know? that sucked. Yeah, that was terrible. But yeah, that just shows like this Last Blood like movie. You know, that just shows that Arnold's definitely CG.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think that everybody has given us everything that they can. So before we take off, once again, please do not forget to back Rockabilly Roadtrip. The link will be put into the chat. I'm going to also have it in the description of the video as well once the recording goes up. And then, of course, get signed up for the Doc Salem mailing list. And we're also going to have the mailing list for 3 nights, probably by the end of the month or something like that, once we got some more pages to put up and we got the logo done and all that other stuff. So we're really excited to get you guys on that, because that's going to be an incredible book. So, and we're probably going to end up working together again in the future, I would think. So,
oh, definitely.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff for you guys that you guys will love. So, all right, man. Any final words, Preston, before we take off, brother?
Back Road Trip. Just back it.
There you go, guys.
Even if you get the lowest tier, just every little bit helps.
Yep. And not to mention, you're already halfway there, too. So,
yeah. Plus, if it does get picked up by a studio, and it gets made into anything like The Walking Dead, you definitely going to want to have those issues.
Amen to that. Oh, real quick, last question from Ugly Media. I think this will be pretty easy for both of us to answer. Favorite Spider-Man story? Mine is Amazing Spider-Man 361 to 363. It's the emergence of Carnage.
I liked McFarlane's run on when he had his Spider-Man #1 where they brought Craven back from the dead. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I always thought that was the best thing ever. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good one. McFarlane was an incredible Spider-Man artist. But then again, that's how he made his millions at first.
But he wasn't just an artist though. Like he was a good writer too.
Yeah, I think I was surprised he didn't keep writing Spawn. And then I was shocked that he gave it over to. Who was it who took over the art after him?
I don't know. I just seen. He gave it over to Capello.
Capello.
I just seen an interview with McFarlane. He said he's written 300 issues of Spider-Man. I mean, not Spider-Man, Spawn. But that can't be right?
I don't think so. He handed it off to different writers at different points. But
Because yeah, I remember distinctly like there was a lawsuit between him and who was it? It wasn't Frank Miller. It was oh God, who was it? Because of Angel, like Angel.
yeah,
was,
because of Angela.
yeah,
Neil
Angela.
Gaiman.
And the Tower. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I could have swore, and I'm right. Yeah, Neil